You all. So if you don't
Yes.
mind, yeah, if you don't mind, maybe we just wait for just a little bit more just to get, I can see the people are coming in. So
Okay.
just like 5 minutes and then we can start.
All
Hey,
right. Sure.
thank you so much.
Well
Thank
done. Well done.
you. See you soon. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever we are on the face of the earth. Thank God for technology. Yes, people are still joining and all that, but we also know that we like to keep to time as leaders. And I'd just like us to start. I just want to greet very, very warmly our participants today. I'm clapping for you because it shows that, especially those who have come early, it shows that you are learners, it shows that you are leaders, and it's just amazing to have like-minded people with us on this platform. I want to welcome our awesome speakers today. Thank you, Ndidi. Thank you, Yemisi. Thank you so much. I feel so honored, just so blessed to have both of you. I know all the other speakers that we're going to be having all through the summit. Thank you all. Thank you both for being part of today's summit. So let's see. The people joining, I'd like to know where you're joining from right now. Can you just put that in the chat room? Where are you joining us from? Where are you? I'm in Florida right now. Anybody in Florida? Where are you joining from? The UK, Lagos, Nigeria. Oh, yeah, Abuja, Lagos, Lekki, my people. Lagos, Ogun State. That's my state. Proud Ogun State woman. Yeah? Lagos, Benin City, Kano. Amazing. From Ghana, Port Harcourt. Oh, wow. Let's know where you're joining from. Ogun State, up Ogun State. From Jos Plateau. Yes, keep it coming. I want to know where you're joining from. Magodo, Lagos, Jakonde, Canada. Oh, that's beautiful, beautiful. Other people, let's know where you're joining from. Lagos, Abeokuta, Mr. Cheshino. Ogba, Nigeria. Amazing. Amazing. You're all welcome. Welcome to this program today. Thank you so much for being a part of this. And how, it's a new year, even though it's now February. But I hope the year has gotten off to a good start for us. There's been one or two things, but I believe that the year has gotten off to a good start. So today I'm looking at something I'm so passionate about. Anybody knows me knows that I love talking about leadership. And just in case people don't know who I am, let me just quickly introduce myself. I'm Kehinde Nwani, and I'm a leadership coach. I'm a business leader, what we call it, entrepreneurship. I'm an entrepreneur, a business leader, a leadership coach, and an education reformer. And anything to do with leadership, entrepreneurship, and anything that's reformative in nature excites me. And that's why we decided to organize this summit. It's I think it's a topic when it comes to leadership, we don't talk enough about it. And I'm so glad. I see people are joining. I'm sure we're still going to have a lot more people joining. Welcome, everybody, those who have just joined us. But before we start, I'm just going to have just a very quick activity. Please, can I have the picture put up right now? I will introduce my guest later. I'm welcoming Mrs. Ndidi Nwuneli and then Mrs. Yemisi Edun. I would read their bio in a little bit. So I just want us to quickly just look at this picture. Look at this picture, everybody. Look at this picture. Look at these animals. And please don't say me, I'm not an animal. I'm not going to take part. Look at this animal. all these animals, and I want you to put in the chat box, which one of these would you hire as a leader and why? Would you hire the parrot as a leader? Why? Would you hire the dog as a leader? Why? Would you hire the termite as a leader? Would you hire the lion as a leader? Put it in your, okay, I know your hands are raised, but for now, we're just going to put it in the chat room. Just which one would you hire and why? Lion, why, Mrs. That's Temi Laurie. Why would you hire the lion? I know everybody will say lion because they're courageous, beautiful. They're courageous, good. Is there any downside to being a lion? I can see a lot of lion, lion, lion. Any downside to being a lion? You hired, they're fierce. So beautiful. And dogs, loyalty, termites because of their work ethic, hard working, lovely. Keep it coming, keep it coming. Ants, very hardworking. Lion and ant, ethic. Dog, they adjust to a lot of situations. Keep it coming, keep it coming. I'll send the dog. Not parrot. Nobody wants to be a parrot. Parrot because they communicate. They're good at communication. Lovely, lovely. Dogs are loyal. Beautiful. That's lovely. Amazing. And you are so right. You are so right. You know, when I looked intelligent, when I looked at the animals myself, I thought, why would I want to be a parrot? But as we have said, they are very intelligent people. How many people can mimic people's accents and, you know, and remember what somebody has said verbatim? They're very intelligent. Of course, we know the downside, maybe lack of authenticity. It might just be that they talk too much gossip. And then we have the dog. Dogs are loyal. My daughter has 2 dogs, and even when my daughter and I are playing and just doing like play fighting, they're barking at me. They're so fiercely loyal. But then, is there a downside to loyalty that is blind? You know, so termites are very, very hardworking, very structured. Do they lack innovation though? Can they think outside the box? Lions are fierce. They are very fierce. They're confident. They are leaders, natural leaders. Can they become a bit autocratic and very controlling? So it's beautiful. I hear all your answers, beautiful answers, lovely. And I hope we can see that there's no perfect leader. There are no perfect leaders. It's just good to learn and continue to hone our leadership skills. All right, then. So because of time, we have an hour. I'm going to introduce my speakers for today. Thank you for sharing your very, very interesting thoughts. I have 2 amazing leaders, exceptional leaders with me today. I have Mrs. Ndidi Nwuneli, and I'm going to read a bit of her bio. Ndidi Nwuneli is an expert on food ecosystems, entrepreneurship, social innovation, and philanthropy. She has over 25 years of international development experience and is the founder of LEAP Africa, an African food change makers. She is also the co-founder of Sahel Consulting, Agriculture and Nutrition Limited, and Ace Foods Processing and Distribution Limited. Indeed, serves on the boards of the Rockefeller Foundation, AGRA, Godrej Consumer Products Limited, India, Stanbic IBTC Group, and the Young Global Leaders of the World Economic Forum and the Bridgespan Group. Honestly, I always wonder how Ndidi does all these things. She's all over the world, literally. Ndidi holds an MBA from the Harvard Business School and an undergrad degree with honors from the Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania. She was a senior fellow at the Mosava Ramani Center for Business and Government at the Harvard Kennedy School. She's a visiting scholar at Max Bell School of Public Policy at the McGill University and Aspen Institute New Voices Fellow and an Eisenhower Fellow. She's a TED speaker, and there's so much more. And she actually has a national honor by the Nigerian government. Can we can you welcome Ndidi for me, please, 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 please. In the chat room, can we just say welcome, congrats, we're proud of you, we're happy to have you, we love you. Can you just, give her the accolades she deserves? Thank you so much, Ndidi, for being here. And I'm going to introduce our darling Yemisi Edun. Yemisi Edun holds a bachelor's degree in chemistry from the University of Ife. Great Ife. Great. I can hear some people saying great. The Unilag people are jealous right now. I know. They're always trying to fight for that position. She holds a master's degree in international accounting and finance from the University of Liverpool in the UK. She's a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers, and a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria. She holds the prestigious award of Certified Financial Analyst. She is also a Certified Information Systems Auditor, an associate member of the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria. Yes, carry me, Yemisi. As well as a member of the Information Systems Audit and Control Association, USA. She began her career with Akintola Williams Deloitte, a member of the firm of Deloitte Touche Tohmatsu in 1987, with a focus on corporate finance activities. She was also involved in audits of banks and other financial institutions. She joined FCMB in the year 2000 as a divisional head of internal audit and control before assuming the role of the chief financial officer of the bank. She was appointed an executive director of the bank in charge of finance and strategy. She was also appointed the bank's compliance executive officer in November 2017. And I could go on and on. Can we once again welcome our guests for today? Right, so let's go into this. And having read the profile of my guest speakers, why is this topic even important to me? I just wanted to talk about that first. When we're thinking of developing leadership pipelines, or sometimes we call it succession planning or succession management, a lot of people think immediately are thinking of, oh, and I used to be like that. I used to be in the class of, oh, succession, that's not for me for now. Why are we talking succession? But it is not so. Honestly, when I really caught the revelation, the understanding, and I'm hoping that people here today are not just looking at, oh, who's going to succeed me? It's not about that alone. That's just a minute part of the issue of succession. And the revelation and the understanding of that as a business owner actually made me so passionate about this topic. When we're talking about developing a leadership pipeline, let me say, for example, there's this man called David Adger from the Harvard Business School, and he says something that I like. He says that a lot of us, either leading a company or leading teams, we tend to focus just more on the corporate strategy, how we will achieve our vision, our long-term goals and objectives. He says, but what we fail to understand is having a succession plan for key positions in the company, not just for the position of the CEO or the founder. That what we fail to understand is having a succession plan is even as important or even more so than your corporate strategy. And you begin to wonder, let's take a minute to think about that. How come we are also focused on achieving our corporate goals and objectives, our organizational goals and objectives, our institutional goals? Because not only companies, churches, mosques, NGOs, there is always that focus on achieving our goal. And very little thought is given to how do you ensure that you continue to have a flow of leaders in your company. Because by the time either it's a planned exit or a sudden vacancy, it's too late. Let's look at the Eagles, Super Eagles match that took place recently. Imagine that you have a bench strength, right? You have people on the bench. Because I learn a lot from soccer and from sports. Imagine that in sports, right? You have the players, and then you have your bench strength. And then a player gets injured. So what happens then? Are you going to bring somebody, to the field that's not prepared? And you're thinking, okay, just go on. Don't worry, you'll navigate. Once you get there, somehow you'll be able to cope. But that is what we do with our companies, because we don't have an enduring deep bench strength for key positions. And I keep emphasizing this because when people think of succession, they're thinking of who's to succeed the owner or the CEO. For key positions, we haven't developed a pipeline, an internal bench strength, an internal crop of people who you can train and develop to fill up key executive positions. And that is, it beats me how even I ran my company for years before I really got this understanding. If you're a team leader, what are you doing in terms of that? So I always say that at least once a year, every leader in a company, someone should be asking you, who's going to lead after you? Who's next? It should be part of our performance management, as I know most of us have. It should be part of the appraisal of a leader. Who are you grooming? At least once a year. If not, at least during the final performance management meeting and the appraisals, you should be asking each and every leader in your company, so who's coming after you? I know what I'm saying from experience. I know when I got one of my head of schools that she came and joined me from the UK, and I'm sure she's probably on this platform. And she was and she is still an amazing head, but she wasn't quite prepared for that role. And it took some time because the skill sets are different. And that is what we do. And for one more minute, I want you to think about yourself right now. Who are you developing as the head of your team? If you have a shop or a whatever, and you have two people, or you have even just one shop, that takes care of the shop after you, that is your key position. How are you preparing the person? So it's such an important topic, and it cuts across industries, organizations, and institutions. As I said, church leaders, mosques, companies, businesses, NGOs, we're not doing this. We're just focusing on our vision. And I'm hoping that by the end of this week, everybody will just go back and reevaluate and see what more they can do to ensure that they secure the long-term health and success and continuity of their organization. So I have two, Mrs. Ndidi Nwuneli is an entrepreneur, a serial entrepreneur, a social entrepreneur. And, she's going to be telling us quite a bit about that. I'll be asking her questions. While I have a seasoned CEO, C-suite executive who has been in the career path, and I'm just looking forward so much to asking them a series of questions. All right, so I'm going to start with you, Mrs. Yemisi Edun. It's unfortunate what happened recently. I commiserate with the whole of Nigeria. Of course, the family of the Wigways and the banking sector on the loss of an amazing individual in the person of Harvard Wigway and his wife and child. And that just, when it happened, of course, I then got to know that banks are a little bit more structured in terms of succession planning and all that. So I want to start by asking you, Mrs. I know that in Access Bank, for example, I know that Mrs. Bolaji Agbede has been appointed as the acting MD CEO. Of course, it's over time that we're going to see, and we all pray that it continues, because succession planning is not just the immediate, it's the present and the future. But I know, knowing the people who started Access and their pedigree, I'm certain that they have put those things in place. So can you speak to what it is like in FCMB, Mrs. Yemisi Edun, because you've been in FCMB for a long time, and part of that process, got you to where you are today as the MD CEO of FCMB, and just want I appreciate what you're doing. You're doing an amazing, amazing job. I think you took up the position in 2021, I think.
Yes.
So how has it been? How did you become the MD? And tell us a bit about how it's done in FCMB, how you prepare leaders.
Thank you very much, Kehinde. And good day, everyone. Nice to be here. And I really like what you're doing. This is a very, very good summit, and really ripe. We really need it at this time, because we see so many companies, don't have any structured means whatsoever of people succeeding them, or their key roles everywhere we go. In fact, in a bank now, in FCMB, if you're coming in for facility and you are a corporate customer already doing turnover of about 5 billion naira per annum, we actually ask for your succession planning scheme framework.
That's beautiful.
So we are actually moving to that. Why are we moving to that? Because in FCMB, we are extremely structured around it. We started the journey quite a long time ago, but along the line, the CBN, Central Bank of Nigeria, also made it mandatory for all banks to actually have succession planning framework. They did not prescribe any format, so that means that there's flexibility around it, and I'll be discussing few things that we do to prepare leaders. And of course, I passed through that system, as well, for ready preparation. The very first thing we do in FCMB is for our HR to work with business leaders to identify talents, right from the least level of account officers up to directorate level. So we have a system in place whereby immediately you are showing some qualities of a leadership role, which I'll discuss very quickly. It's around our core values, as well as what we call 3 C's. Our core values is acronymed EPIC. EPIC stands for execution, professionalism, innovation, and customer focus. So if you're able to show that you can execute well and you are professional in doing what you do, if you are innovative and you are creative, and of course, you put customer service in your heart, you are already putting yourself into our talent pool where we pull out leaders and successors. The 3 C's are for competence, capacity, and character. Competence is looking at your skills, it's looking at your ability, your interest, and your development. Your capacity is looking at how resilient you are. Because in preparing you for leadership, these are roles that are very resilient and require perseverance. So we need to see you display that. And then your ability to take on more responsibilities outside your skin. So that's what we look at in capacity. And character is very key for us. Your professionalism, as I said in our core values, your ethics, your honesty, and the way, Amana, you respect others, your soft skills, your interpersonal relationships also matter a lot. So if you are able to tick these boxes, you from the onset will be set aside, as I mentioned, to our talent pool, and we conduct what we call competency-based assessment, CBA. Through that competency-based assessment, we start identifying the type of leadership roles you can fit into. It may not be immediate. It may require years. So maybe 2 years, 3 years. And for those years, we start grooming you. The type of training you will need, the type of mentorship you will need, the type of coaching you will need, the type of job rotation you will need. So all those ones will now start happening to prepare you for that journey. So in FCMB, leadership is a journey.
Absolutely.
In FCMB, succession planning is a big framework. I was pulled into it as soon as I joined in 2000, first identifying me as a successor to be in finance. I came in through audit and control, but had been identified as someone that could do finance. Why? Because I was supporting most of the fundraising, investors presentation, financial management in the system. So it was a very good job family, for me. I ran the CBA test. It was positive. I needed about a year, to be ready for it. And I was sent on a course at Wharton for preparing for CFOs. And after that, of course, I became CFO. After that, I was assessed I went to CBA again. So you can go for CBA as many times as possible, depending on how you are moving on the ladder. I went for CBA for directors, for directorship. I was elected. And of course, they started grooming me to be a director, to be a leader of the organization now. And I started representing CEOs, maybe at meetings, maybe bankers committee meeting or CIBN meetings, just for that exposure. So by the time the role of CEO came, I was fully prepared to take on that role. Let me pause here.
Thank you so much. That is just amazing, amazing. Everybody can hear and see the structure, the well-structured manner FCMB goes about it, the intentionality in developing people. And by the way, I think Yemisi was 1 year ahead of me in uni, right? I think you were 1 year, or I think you were.
Are you sure it's not 2?
I think okay, 2 years.
But whatever.
You know what I'm saying?
We were there together.
But the main thing is that I remember, I'm sure you remember Shade Biodu, who said to me once, she said, "Oh, she's always been very hot, very hot." She studied chemistry as well. She's always been very hot, that she wasn't surprised at all. So I've just attested to the fact that, yes, I can imagine that from the get-go, you were identified, which is all part of developing that leadership pipeline, as you said. It should be part of the DNA of a company. The whole idea of succession planning is actually part of a broader topic of talent management. Sure. It's really about that. It's not just about, who's going to succeed after the owner. It's really part of talent management. First of all, attracting, developing, retaining talents, and then being able to take them through very painstakingly, the different steps you've talked about. Amazing. So proud of you. You've always been hot, and I know the sky is your limit. It's not even your limit, as they would say. Thank you so much. So Ndidi, we're ready for you now. Ndidi is a serial entrepreneur. Like I said, I'm just amazed, about all she's been able to do. And when you see Ndidi, oh my gosh, she's like very, very slim. And, and you're wondering, how is she able to take all this on? So Ndidi, would like to hear from you. I know you founded Leap Africa, and I know Leap Africa is still there running strong. And I know you've also gone into other things. So could you tell us a bit about your journey in terms of starting Leap Africa, being able to leave Africa in the hands of other people, and then you're able to express yourself in so many other ways. Could you just tell us a bit about it?
Thank you so much, Mrs. Nwani. I'm a Dr. Nwani. I'm a big fan of Dr. Nwani. When she calls, I always listen because she's invested so much in other people and given so much of herself to our society. So please give a virtual round of applause to Mrs. Nwani for being just a destiny enabler. And that leads me to respond to her question, which is very early in life, Dr. Nwani. God kind of showed me what he wanted me to be, which was more of a destiny enabler. And it was tough, right? Because many of us feel like we're so stuck. Our businesses are like our babies. And we feel like, oh, I have to have this baby and I have to see this baby through. But early on, and I'll tell you, I went to Harvard Business School. And in 1997, when I got there, in every cubbyhole, every mailbox for every student, there was a magazine that said 100 Indian companies over 100 years old. It was
Absolutely.
India's 50th anniversary, and they showcased 100 companies over 100 years old. And I thought to myself, how many Nigerian companies are over 100 years old? And I started looking to this issue of succession because at 25, I got the opportunity to run Fate Foundation. I was the pioneer executive director and had to have a quick succession 18 months later because I got married and my husband moved to the US. And Fola Adiola himself said, Ndidi, as a newlywed, you should not be apart from your husband, which was a very smart decision. And so I went through succession. And I remember being in Boston and people calling me saying, Ndidi, there's a problem at Fate. Ndidi, if you were here, this wouldn't be happening. And I thought to myself, this is a problem, right? I've moved on from Fate. I've actually helped start Fate USA. And here we're having this challenge around succession. And so very quickly, when I started Leap Africa and God laid Leap in my heart, succession was one of the things Leap actually decided to teach. We wanted to ensure that businesses survived and outlived their founders. So we actually created curriculum on succession and wrote 2 books on succession. The first book is called Defying the Odds, Case Studies of Nigerian Companies That Have Survived Generations. And the second one is called Passing the Baton. And in our teaching of this curriculum and why we had to write these books, we found out that so many of the examples we're citing were not African examples, were not Nigerian examples, and we had to find those examples. And Dr. Nwani, there are very few examples in our context. The 7 companies we profiled in our first book, Corona Schools, which was started in 1957 by a group of women. We have Efegno Group or Azalike Trading, Punch Newspapers, the Nigerian Conservation Foundation, and the El Khalil family, which is a 7-Up company. Now, many people weren't willing to share their stories if they had stories because they knew that their stories were not worthy of sharing or had question marks. And then in the Passing the Baton, we profiled what it takes to actually succeed. And I'll say that I had to exemplify that at Leap, not just at Leap, at Ace Foods, at Sahel Consulting, and now at African Food Changemakers. So with all the organizations I have started, what have I done? I've learned from the mistakes of the past and also from my own lived experience. But there are 5 key steps. The first is, as a founder, you have to clearly articulate your values, vision, and mission. The values are critical. Values of integrity, excellence, meritocracy, whatever those values are, they have to be well articulated and imbibed and institutionalized and put into recruitment, HR, and in terms of evaluation and staff evaluation, where you evaluate those values in staff, because you only want to attract and retain people who share those values. And I have to say, Mrs. Nwani, you're doing a fantastic job, not just in Meadowhall, but LPS. I mean, the fact that you have security guards who have been there for 15 years, 20 years, And when they see me, they say, how is Udenna? How is Amara? That is a blessing. That they remember my children who have graduated and left the school. You know what I mean? That culture stands through at the institutions you've built. And for me, that culture has to stand through in every institution I've built. It has to have my DNA, the things that matter to me, the things that matter to God, and values, values, values. And for all the companies I've studied, and I've written a lot on succession and trained a lot, values are the most important. I happen to sit on a board of an Indian company that's over 120 years old. It is in its fifth generation. It is exceptional. It's a multi-billion-dollar company. In Africa, they have the Darling brand. You guys might know about Darling, Strength of Nature. In the US, they bought a lot of the hair care, hair dye, home insecticides, etc. And they're over 120 years old. When you see what holds them up, it's values. It's values of loyalty, meritocracy, honesty, integrity, service. So articulate your values. Don't expect people to know. If you don't articulate them, pass them down and put them in recruitment. Beyond values, a clear mission and a clear vision. The second thing is clear governance structures. And for every idea I've had, the first thing I do is I constitute a board. For every idea I have, the first thing is constitute a board after I've written the concept notes. And that board has to be refreshed and renewed. So I have strict governance principles, 3 years renewable for second term. Now, governance is so important. Leap would have died. When my husband got shot in 2007, I was 9 months pregnant and we had to leave Nigeria abruptly. It was the board that kept Leap going. Dr. Nadu Denloye stepped in as one of the board members to manage the staff. If you don't have strong governance, your organization will die. Fabian Ajogu was the chair of the board at the time. He kept the organization going. You mentioned the Wigways, and when they talked about Wigway University, and I saw that Fabian was the chair of the board, I said, this university will be birthed, and this university will survive generations because I know Fabian, and because Herbert Wigway was wise enough to put Fabian as the chair of his board. Who you put on your board makes a difference. They have to share your values. They have to be people who would be doing what you are doing in spite of. And when I think about our board members, all of them met at Leap, but they became friends. Until today, they are lifelong friends. And that board had people like Lamido Sanusi Lamido. It had people like Mrs. Mariam Uwais, people who are not people I knew, but because they understood my vision and passion, were willing to devote their time to support a young girl. And when I started Leap, I was 28. To support a young girl and to sustain that vision. Right? So please don't ever think you're too young or not connected to get the best minds and the best brains, because Nigerians are excited about visions that are compelling, that are bigger than you, that are about transformation. But make sure you renew your board. People get tired. Make sure you have a clear succession plan within your board, but have clear systems and structures around governance. I have stepped off the board of Leap Africa. I'm not involved in Leap at all. I stepped out of day-to-day management in 2007 and off payroll in 2007. Last year, I stepped off the board. And guess what? Cleo Masha is the chairman. Tayo Tola from head of KPMG West Africa is chairman of the audit committee. I can go to sleep because I know that this organization is in good hands. Number 3 is systems and structures. Beyond, I've talked about values, mission, vision. I've talked about governance. Third is systems and structures. How can I step out of day-to-day management of Sahel Consulting and is still managing multi-million-dollar projects, or ACE Foods, or African Food Change Makers, or LEAP? It's because of systems and structures. We have a clear strategic plan, a clear strategic planning process, a clear process of delivering to clients, a clear process of delivering to beneficiaries. Systems and structures work. In some cases, you have to actually be like with African Food Change Makers, it's the only company where I'm still approving requests. They make every Thursday, they upload their requests. Somebody else approves it within the firm, and then I have to approve finally. But it's the only company out of the 6 I've started directly and 20 I've helped start that I'm still involved in financial management. But system and structures, only 1 day a week will I approve. If it comes after that day, I will not approve it. You wait till the other week. So you have to plan. There's nothing like emergency, right? Because nowhere in the world do you have people fighting fires. But Nigeria, we refuse to have systems and structures, and everyday CEOs are fighting fires. So systems and structures is number 3. And number 4 is your recruitment strategy, your retention strategy, and your promotion strategy. HR, HR, HR. People are the bedrock. Dr. Nwani has had a fantastic, I love the people you have surrounded yourself with, whether you're there or not. I'll use Miss Pakoya, for example. She loves her job. She comes because she's committed. Do you know what I mean? And I can go through the list of people that you have surrounded yourself with. Let's not be afraid to surround ourselves with people who are smarter than us, people who challenge us, people who question us, people who don't, in Nigeria, we love to have people who say, yes, ma, yes, ma, yes, ma, thank you, ma. No. Surround yourself with people who are going to challenge you, who are going to take this company as if it's their own. Smart people don't stay in companies where they're shut down, where they're silenced, where they're not given equity, where they're not given profit sharing. They stay where they are celebrated. When I'm on a plane and I see people from the companies I've started flying on the plane with me, I didn't know where they were going. It gives me joy. I'm in a country and I'm like, leave staff. Oh, you're coming from Morocco. Fantastic. Ace Foods. Oh, you're coming from France. Well done. On the same flight, in the same row. I'm so proud, right? When I see them go from taking buses to having cars and driving to work, that gives me joy. Let's not silence our people. They don't need to go to Canada. Let's share profits with them. Let's give them equity. Let's empower them. They will stay and they will drive growth and they will succeed and they will be celebrated. This month, I got an invitation to India and to Germany. Temi, who runs Sahel, went to India. Chinedu is going to Germany. I don't have to be going to all these places. I'm tired of traveling. It doesn't have any value for me, but it has value for them. So step out of the limelight and let other people shine. And the final thing is humility. As leaders, let's know when to walk away from the limelight and let us plan for succession in our lifetime. Not when we're dead, not when we are expired, not when we are a stumbling block to progress. Learn when God says, Ndidi, I have a new assignment for you. And you can't get that new assignment if you're still holding on too tightly, right? And the big news, Dr. Nwani, is that I've gotten a new appointment somewhere else in the world. And I'm so excited because I know the teams that I'm leaving behind will thrive. I know the organizations that I've started will outlive me and survive generations. And I know that God, who planted these businesses, will continue to nurture them because I have the right people. So now God is taking me global outside this context, outside Nigeria, and I'm ready for it. But I'm more excited because the people who I'm leaving behind are ready for that new challenge without Ndidi. And that gives me great joy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, so much. Amazing, amazing. You talked about values, and I absolutely, absolutely believe in that. What are the values of the company? When a company is not, the values are not well, the vision is not well articulated. I must be compelling, as you said. So that keeps the serious people. It keeps them going. The people who are not there just for the salary. It actually resonates with them and it keeps them going. The clear structure, I say to people, when people ask, what's your secret? What's your secret? Apart from the Lord God Almighty, it is systems and structures because it enables you step aside to fulfill other. I feel that God gives us so many gifts. And as you said, linking that to the humility, we feel that if we don't hold on to it, we have people who are very good. We won't give them autonomy because you want to be the big boss, everything is around you, and then you remain small. We remain small when we hold on instead of training people, empowering them, let them fly. And as they are doing that, you can expand and you can actually do so much more. And, so I just love everything you've talked about, the recruitment, the retention, the developing of people. I think that's what we should be looking at as leaders. It's not about us. It's not about the people are our greatest asset. And when you have engaged staff, you have motivated staff, and you're not doing anything with them, you're still there. Sometimes you go for, in the past, you go for functions and some leaders are there on the phone with their companies. I just laugh because to them, it makes them feel really, this stuff. And I laugh to myself because I will not even touch my phone. because I know the people I've empowered, I know the training I've given them. Of course, there are times that we need to, but there's nothing that's, I don't know, there's nothing beautiful about being on the phone every minute because your staff cannot take decisions. It's so terrible. And we rejoice and, in such things. So it's so beautiful, the humility, I love that. I say it all the time, leaders must realize, John Maxwell says it, that we are only creatures. We are not the creator. We are not the creator. When you sit and hoard everything and it's all about you, you are believing that you are the creator. You are not. We're only creatures. And so you must know when it's time to fulfill other assignments given to you by the creator so that other people may also fulfill theirs. Thank you so, so very much indeed. Lovely, Odlo. Honestly, I'm enjoying this so much. I hope you're all enjoying this. I'm going to take one question each, and then we're going to have a quick poll so that I want to see how much people are learning. So, Yemisi, now you've explained so beautifully the system of developing leaders. It's so strategic and so well spelled out. It's really amazing. Now, I wonder, do you ever, or has your bank ever had any need to bring in external people? Or do you always only work with internal? And we know why it's better for internal candidates to take positions, don't we? Because its historical knowledge, skills are preserved, people you have poured into, you have trained, you have developed. But do you ever find a need to bring in external people for some key positions?
Thank you for that. And let me just thank Ndidi, because I learned so much from the few minutes she had spoken, around from what I'll call from the entrepreneur's view. Because there's actually one or two things that I, even on my own, position, had to pick, around it. And I agree completely to her 5 agenda points, to run a good organization that you can hand over, and with good succession. But looking at developing people and how you move them up internally. To your question, at times we may need to buy. In fact, we do 3 Bs. 3 Bs in FCMB. We either build or buy or borrow.
Okay.
To get our successions filled up. So in fact, I was a candidate that was bought in anyway. So I'm a product of a buy. And then I was then built to this CEO's role. So at times, I mentioned to you that a tool we use very frequently to identify potential leaders, potential successors is called competency-based assessment, CBA. So, and I mentioned that in that CBA, you may not find the right profile immediately. So it may require maybe 2 years, 3 years or so, where you will need to build the candidate up. During that process, because I guess because we are regulated, I work in a regulated entity, at times we have roles that are time-bound by the regulator. At times we have roles that are grade-bound by the regulators. So if roles fall into that category, we may not have option but to quickly go and buy. So for instance, when FCMB had to hunt me years back, of course, they didn't, the next person in the ladder was still too junior to take on that role. So we require about 4 years to build into that role. And that role, it was regulatory bound, so grade. So they had to go out and buy. So in situations like that, we do buy. Then there are times that maybe it could be a short-term project that we require. And instead of buying fully, we then borrow. It could be maybe in our internal building. The candidate requires maybe about a year or two to step into that position fully. I want to really encourage these employees. So what we'll do is that we borrow for that short window, and we just give that short contract before the candidate comes in. So yes, we do buy and we do borrow.
That's lovely. In fact, so that explains it beautifully, because I know sometimes when we bring people from outside, getting the fit right, the DNA developed to be that of that company. But as you said, I can see that even when you buy or borrow, I'm sure you borrow someone that can hit the ground running. And for that time that you're developing the other people, nothing is going to suffer. And when you buy, I'm certain that you have a solid leadership development program. So for example, what are some development, did you mention, was it you that mentioned job rotation? What are the things that you do, for example, in developing internal leaders, or even when you have an outsider come in? What are the kind of leadership development programs they go through?
Okay, all right. Specifically for FCMB, we actually use about 4 development mechanisms, to handle this. Whether, as you said, whether we are building or buying or we are borrowing. The first thing we do is to look at a 360-degree feedback mechanism for that candidate. So we want to actually check that, what are your peers saying about you? What are your subordinates saying about you? Those points are very critical to us. So it's not only your supervisors that will rate you as you move down the ladder, and we do this twice, at least once a year. Most times twice a year, depending on the role that you take. So
that's the 360.
Sorry?
The 360.
Yes, that's the 360-degree. So it affords us to holistically have a view of you as leader, know your strengths, because everybody is now talking about it. Your supervisor, your peers, your subordinates. Know your strengths, know your areas of improvement. And of course, we have to imbibe the culture of the system. Our core values are very key for us. It's part of our performance measurement. It's part of your scorecard. We breathe it in the system. So we really want to know how you're doing, with it. So that's the first thing we do. The second that we do is that we actually establish formal mentorship programs in the bank for our talents and potential successors. So we pair emerging leaders with experienced executives, for personal and professional growth. We also use external vendors, for mentoring and also for coaching. So we actually, the 360-degree feedback feeds into the mentoring program so that it's more specific. It's like you are grooming a person for certain rules. So they already are aware, of what is being done in the organization. The third thing is about our job rotation and cross-functional assignments. So we handle so many projects in the bank. And when we handle projects, we get potential leaders. If you are already in our 9 metrics box and you have been identified, you have passed your CBA and we are opening you up for leadership skills, then we rotate jobs for you and we give you assignments that may not even be your own. For instance, I can use myself as an example. So I was head of audit and control in 2004, 2005, when Soludo announced the recapitalization of banks from 2 billion naira to 25 billion naira. So gave 18 months, and I think for about 12 months, some CEOs, some owners of banks were fighting him. But when they realized he wouldn't budge, we realized we've got to raise funds. So what happened was that we needed to acquire. We raised some funds. I think for our raise were about 22 billion, but we needed some to acquire some banks to make the 25 billion. So we reviewed some banks. We saw 3 banks that we can actually integrate with us because they share the same, more or less the same culture, with us.
Yeah.
We've got to do this assignment. We've got to fuse them into one within 3 months because this was around October. And we were in an executive management meeting, and the CEO, the then CEO and founder said, Yemisi, you're going to be the integration director. And it's like, from where? What do I know about that? So, but because I've been exposed as potential leaders, we throw out functional assignments like that, to people. So that was thrown out from me, to me, and I had to study so fast, continually learning what it means, what I needed to do, had to lead about 10 work streams, and we were working tirelessly. But the good thing is that we completed the assignment at record time, and we were given a license, to form ahead. So that's the third one. And the fourth one is in-house training programs. So we develop and customize training programs within the organization to address specific leadership competencies and align with our corporate values. I've mentioned before, and Ndidi actually highlighted that over and over again. Corporate values are very, very important. So that's the first thing we do, that we train. So we have our 360-degree mechanism, our formal mentorship program and coaching, the job rotation and cross-functional assignments, and the in-house training.
Amazing. I'm really, really, really enjoying this. And honestly, it's just amazing. I hope everybody's learning. And these, I'll be talking about it at the end, because this ties so much into a mastermind that I've put together. So it's just, so for me, it's a lot of validation and being reminded of certain things. So it's just amazing. Ndidi, I'm just going to ask you one more question. I know you have another meeting. So after this, and maybe one or two more, we'll now take the poll, and then we'll begin to round up. Thank you, Yemisi. You're not running. We are not rushing off. Ndidi had told me. So, Ndidi, just one question for you. How did you have you faced, and I'm sure you have, challenges in raising leaders? And after answering that question, I would like you to just maybe round up with a final word of advice, maybe any mistake you've made, or because most of the time when we're talking about these things, people only see, oh gosh, how can we do this? But have you also struggled with some things? Have you failed in some things? How did you come back? So it's like 2 questions. I want to know the challenges you face in raising leaders with this jackpot syndrome as well. How are you able? What are you doing? And also some lesson where you've been able to redeem yourself from a particular level of maybe failure. And then I'll let you go.
Thank you so much. So Dr. Nwani, I'm trying to follow in your footsteps, and I'm actually doing a PhD in all my free time. And the topic of my PhD is on intuitive judgment and how you groom senior leaders who have intuitive judgment. And why did I choose this topic? Because of a failure. So I started a company called Nourishing Africa. It was envisaged as a home for 1 million entrepreneurs, a tech business and we need this in every sector. So I'm planting a seed for those who are listening. In our case, it was that ag and food entrepreneurs in Africa don't know each other. They work in silos. They don't have data. They don't have funding. So we created a one-stop shop where if you come to our website today, you'll find data, funding, you'll link up with others. And we need one in the education sector, Dr. Nwani. We need one in every, where can people find funding? Every day I get emails from people who want to start schools. Where can I get funding? Where can I get training? Where can I get data? And so you can search by country, by value chain, and it's a one-stop shop. So we created this. It was a vision that God laid on my heart to have 1 million successful and sustainable businesses that are not only scaling, but changing African narratives, to change the face of Africa from a hungry child to a successful female entrepreneur. Now, I found 2 of my staff who are working with me at Sahel Consulting, who are young, dynamic women, and I asked them to help start this company as co-founders with me. And I gave them equity. So remember, I told you I believe in empowering, giving people equity. I gave them a huge platform. They were speaking all over the world. They were being invited, and they were under 30. Very intelligent, hardworking women. But they lacked one thing, which was intuitive judgment, which me and you know is built through experience, the school of hard knocks. Like, how can we smell a rat? I can smell a rat, Dr. Nwani, you can smell a rat because you have smelled rats before. You know what I mean? They say, how do you know where the prince, if you haven't kissed the frog? So in this case, they had a staff. We had a big program where we're giving training to thousands of entrepreneurs. Then we're going to give grants to 125 entrepreneurs, free money. Now they had a staff who then turns out that he's calling entrepreneurs saying, I can help you get money, more money if you give me X. So he was running the program. And guess what? We got whistleblowers who wrote them and said, there's fraud. There's something happening that's not right. And each time they'll ask the guy who was running the program, oh, can you check on Ndidi's file? Is she really? And he'll say, oh, it's a disgruntled entrepreneur. We chose not to fund. We found out that this guy had changed the names of those who are getting funding, replaced 90 people who had passed through screening, industry visits, everything. So the whole process was transparent, but the last thing was the list. And he had changed the names of 90 people who were not supposed to be on the list. He had put their names. Now, where did God save us? They wanted, I was just the chair of the board and founder. They wanted to give these grants in December. And I said, no, I'm a Nigerian entrepreneur. If you give people grants, free money in December, they will never use it for their business. So let's wait till January. And guess what? I'm about to get on the TED stage to give a TED talk. And I get a call from the funder saying, we got an anonymous email. There's been fraud in your organization. And I have built 25 years of impeccable ethics. And I was like, what? And as we dug, we uncovered that other people had blown the whistle, but these 2 young ladies had ignored it. And what did it show me? It showed me that, especially with the next generation, we have to find a way to help them understand the concept of intuitive judgment. And we have to find a way to expose them to experiences that we have had, because they come into organizations thinking they know everything. They come into organizations thinking that, who are these old people who have white hair? They have nothing to teach me. But they don't understand that they would have spotted that this guy was not ethical if they had only had some wisdom, right? And how do you build wisdom without having years of experience? And how do you empower the next generation to make decisions? So that's why I'm studying this. So what did I do? Number one, I had to gracefully eventually arrest the guy, exit him, eventually exit the 2 leaders because they had lost trust with our funders. I had to change the name of the organization. So now it's called African Food Changemakers, because guess what? These same fraudulent entrepreneurs who he put on the list now came after us on social media. If Harvard writes something about me, they'll say, ask Ndidi what she did with our money. Because no money was given to them, no money was lost, but we had a reputational challenge on our hands. And we had to change the name of the organization, hire a whole new team. And now I'm studying how we groom leaders who have intuitive judgment. So the main lessons for us, and it was very painful, very sad, because for the first time I had to prove to people that, we can do things right. We're not just going to give money to fraudulent people. Some of our funders said, just give them money because they're so upset. These young people will come after you. There's the cancel culture in Nigeria. They'll threaten you to give them money, but you're not going to give money to people who say they have a poultry farm, but there's no evidence that any farm ever existed, right? We're not going to do that. And so for me, those values were psychosens, and I'm never going to bend. And so it's taken a lot. That was a really tough battle. But the key lessons for you as an entrepreneur, don't bend your values. Number two, make the hard decisions when you have to, regardless of the pressure. Number three, groom people who have intuitive judgment. And Dr. Nwani, the findings from my study, and I'll share this with all of you now, is that there's people who are still micromanaging their staff. They're not grooming them to have intuitive judgment. You can't grow a business if everything revolves around the CEO. The CEO makes every decision. As you talked about it in parties, they're answering phone calls. That is not cool. That is somebody who's not building an organization that would outlive them.
Absolutely.
Empower people with the wisdom and experience, give them opportunities to make mistakes, but they should be also humble to listen and learn and grow, right? But don't punish every mistake, right? So it wasn't only one mistake these young ladies made, they made multiple mistakes, and they were, at least one was not willing to listen to hear what mistakes they were making. So the challenge for you is how you groom people who have intuitive judgment and how you ensure that you build in the second and third tier layers of people by empowering, by building a reading culture, a questioning culture. And one question I learned, ask your teams every month, what decision did you make last month and what did you learn from it? Let's be conscious about the power of decision making because we live in an environment which is chaotic, changing every day. Data cannot help you. You don't have time, you're under pressure, and you need more than ever before intuitive judgment. And so that's a key lesson for me, and which I'm passing down. And the book is coming, Dr. Nwani, from this experience. So you asked a very important question without knowing that you would get a very vulnerable answer.
Hey, that's just beautiful, beautiful. And talking about intuitive judgment, honestly, it's actually in line with what I studied. The main question I answered during my PhD, because what I looked at was what Aristotle calls practical wisdom. And we realized Aristotle says practical wisdom is made up of two key things: your moral virtues and your intellectual virtues. That you need the two. When you have the two, because there's the values, the moral thing guiding you, because before Aristotle was before Christ, so it's not even about the Christian faith or any religion. It's about moral virtues, right? And then you also have the intellectual virtue to back it up. And that I also realized, even in my own field, this is education, that no matter the policies you have, the teacher standards, the rules, the curriculum, guess what? It is the person that has practical values that can rightly interpret and help, people in particular situations. Because you have laws that nobody, or rules or policies that really, at the end of the day, you still need the wisdom to apply the rules. So, so it's such a beautiful, beautiful thing you're talking about. I can see how people say, yes, practical wisdom, practical values, intuitive judgment. That is so, so, so key. It's something that everybody needs to develop. And thank you for those last words, Ndidi. I know you've got to go. We love you. Thank you so much for coming. Can we just have a round of applause? Send her, just claps and flowers and everything on the chat room right now. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Ndidi. Thank you so much. So, my darling Yemisi, thank you so much. We're beginning to round up. I so love everything you have said. And I can see, honestly, all the steps that you put in your bank, to ensuring that succession is done properly and is effective. And that's why the bank has thrown up someone like you, and you are doing such an amazing job at FCMB. But we will talk later.
Okay. No problem.
All right.
One of our values is customer focus. So no problem.
You guys are just amazing, amazing. So we're just going to take a quick poll. I just want to see at this point how much people have learned before we start rounding up the session for today. Abami, please, could you please go ahead and put up the poll? Let's see. I want to see. Please, our darling participants, I want you to answer. Oh, yes, good. I want you to answer this poll right now. Just go ahead and answer. Answer. Let me see. Let's see. You know, I'm an educationist. We like to see and measure how people are learning. So, yeah, number one question, is the present Japa wave affecting your business? Can you answer yes, indeed, or no, it is not? I'll be surprised if I see no, it is not. Yes? Are they answering? I can't see it. I can't see the poll. People, I can see it. Can people see it? Okay, some people can't, but it's up here. How many people can see it? Yes, it is. People can. So, yeah, Tomi Borishade, Adiola Ogunkoya. It is indeed. Very few people say it's not. I would really like to know those people who have said the Japa wave is not affecting their business at all. Are you sure it's not affecting you at all? So yes, go on. 82% say that it is, and 25 thereabouts say it's not. That's very, very interesting to hear that it's not. I'd like to hear for some people that said it's not. Now, the next question says, should organizations stop investing training in their employees because they seem to lose them anyway to Canada and to the UK and to internal poaching in the country? Like Yemisi was bought from another bank and they lost her. Should they not have invested in her then? Because somebody can then come and, reap where they did not sow. We should continue training them. Okay, some people are neutral. Those ones are the ones thinking, I can't keep training people for other people to, but isn't that then cutting our nose to spite our face though, if we don't train people? And then the third question is, do you believe that offering more incentives will keep potential successors with an organization? People have said, the people who said yes and maybe, they're very close. Some say no. Some say no. But I think it's actually part of managing your talent, though. Talent management has to be, Ndidi just said it, ensure that, are you giving them equity? What more are you giving them? What are you offering them? For us, for example, with our subsidiaries, we're offering things like franchises. So there must be something that's extra that keeps people feeling that, oh yeah, I'm being very well appreciated. So at least it will help to an extent. Will it stop it totally? Maybe not. A woman can be working somewhere, she has good benefits, but the husband says, okay, we're going to Canada. What's she going to do? So sometimes it helps, but might not just be the only solution. The last question is, why is succession planning so important? And I want to see more answers for this. Oh yes, all of the above. Smart class, smart people, all of the above. It's important because it's ensuring continuity of your business. It retains historical institutional knowledge and skills, because those people, you have worked with them, they understand your culture, you have deposited so much in them. So you retain that knowledge when you grow people from within to fill leadership positions. Of course, it helps to identify and prepare future leaders, making transitions seamless. And of course, it improves employee engagement and retention, because people see that you actually care about their growth and advancement based on merit and performance. So I'm very good at what I do. Imagine Mrs. Edun being so good in what she does. And then when the opportunity, she had gone through the CBA and all that, and then an opportunity comes and they just bring somebody from outside, she'll be very demotivated. So I'm really, really glad. End of poll. Well done, smart class. Well done. All right, as we begin to round up, we'll take about 5 minutes for questions from anybody that has any questions. So Yemisi, I would ask this. Okay, we should share results. Okay. I'm sharing results now. Have you shared the results? Yes, we have.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay, so we can stop sharing now. Can you please take it off now? So Yemisi, please, what would you say? What are the challenges you face in developing leaders? You have a wonderful structure, but what challenges do you face? Is it the quality of the people that even join? Or are you able to sort that out at the point of recruitment? Because sometimes we know how the education system in Nigeria fails to prepare people, sometimes adequately, for the workplace. So I know a lot of banks will still do some training programs and things like that. So what are the challenges you face in developing a leadership pipeline? Is it the quality? Is it the people, their attitude? What would you say is a challenge or some challenges you face?
Some challenges. Okay. Thanks for that. Actually, you have hit on one major challenge, which is the Japa syndrome. That's so very real. And it's not a fight against the organization or the industry, it's a fight against the country. So it's so difficult to even fight it, to respond to it rather. Because they just went to leave the country for greener pastures. No matter what you throw out to them, just as the example you gave, a husband, it's moving to Canada for greener pasture. The wife has to follow, so you may not be able to face that. Another challenge that we face in my industry is what we call talent war. The talent market has always been extremely competitive within the local space, among our direct competitors. There are few people out there, and people are just scrambling, for them. Me using myself as an example, I think I have approached our late founder like 3 times in my career that I'll be leaving for another bank, and he will just say, "You're going nowhere." No. And he will tell everybody on the board that whatever it is that you can do to hold her down, you have to hold her down. And in fact, one of the attempted exits was even actually back to where I was headhunted.
Okay.
And that's why I wanted to support that poll that you keep training. Yes. Don't think that they will go and it's a waste. Yes, they go, but you are developing people for the market, for the industry, for the economy. You are not even sure they may come back to you. So having seen me after about 5 years that FCMB had actually taken the development, the training and development from where they stopped, and I have really become a finance guru, they wanted me back. At of course, better package and all that. But our late father just said, no, what's the package? We are meeting it, and we are going to even do much more. So we have that talent war going on. And unfortunately for us, during this period, it has left local space alone. It's become a global challenge. So the talent you think you're grooming right now will have other options in other jurisdictions, other marketplace, so meeting those ones, it's also another challenge of its own. And I'll say a greater challenge we are now beginning to see is the evidence of generation gap. In the past, the baby boomers will stay long in an institution, they are committed, they are loyal, they just want to be in the institution and work, and they are good. But currently, these Gen Zs, they are reshaping the workforce. They do not, in fact, by the time you are telling them, will you stay about 5 years? They will say, for what? They only want to engage in shorter tenures. So that is a major concern that we are facing in the bank, especially, I told you that our pool starts from the beginning and we start pulling them in there. But so FCMB remains very proactive, you know, in devising innovative strategies, you know, to effectively address and navigate these evolving dynamics. So one of the things we're doing is that if we have recognized that the world is a global market, we've recognized that we are now recruiting Gen Zs into our system. So we are giving people flexible hours to work. We are giving even flexible places to work. So you really don't have to be physically present in the office. You don't have to be physically present in Nigeria, in your local area. You know, so you can actually be abroad and you're working for FCMB. So long we have developed, we have invested in tools that can make us monitor how you work for the time that we have agreed with you. And we continue, and if your work is good, you are contributing well to it, you will still be part of our talents. So this is how we are trying to address that challenge.
That's I you know, I salute FCMB. I love the proactive nature, the adaptability, which is really what succession planning is all about, and meeting your corporate goals as well, because you, whatever your goals are, you know where you're going. So your succession planning must also be in line with that, and you knowing where you're going. You have all these Gen Zs with you. How do you hold on to them to at least serve within that period, and they're able to give you? So just that that proactivity, I just absolutely love that. Thank you for that. So now the final question is what I asked Ndidi as well. You know, this kind of program would throw up all our strengths and successes, but I'm sure there are people here thinking, okay, these people are very smart, they're good and all that. Where have you had issues? Any failures? You know, my son says something that I like. He says that failure is only a bruise, it's not a tattoo. It's not permanent. So,
Sure.
you know, where would you say it could be in the workplace, life, any lessons that we can leave the listeners with, even as we begin to round up? And we'll just take a few questions and we're done.
Okay. Definitely, just as Ndidi had mentioned, if you're saying, no, we've not made mistakes, you know, that means that we're not being truthful. Yes, we've started succession planning decades ago, and I mean, it's working, but that does not mean that there have not been mistakes in identifying leaders. And even in the process itself, the system that we have built. And a major mistake that we've done in the past is delaying role assumption for our talents. So maybe because it's banking, you are actually taking care of people's assets. So you don't want to lose people's assets. So because of that, we see some talents, some people that could have been great leaders of the institution, you know, taking up roles, but we don't allow them get in there, maybe for one reason or the other, and maybe we just like buy. So that's delayed role assumption. Or we keep telling them, oh, okay, 2 years, but 2 years leading to 3 and then to 4. And we think they're not matured enough, you know, to take on that role. You know, the way you will have a baby that you are nurturing, and then by the time the baby is grown about 16 and he's saying he wants to drive, you are wondering why you can't handle the car. But you are the same person that you're saying, oh, this child is so well developed, so intelligent, can do so many things. Oh, he's good, he is nice, he's coordinated. You raise all those. Then he wants to take your car key to drive. You say, no.
Oh, not yet.
So we've seen that mistake play out in Aba, and we have lost good talents in that. So what we're doing now is that we are fixing adequate talent management reward system in place with good timing. So our focus is to ensure that we implement that talent reward system in the bank. So early on, we make them realize that they are part of the bank.
Yeah.
Erstwhile, before realizing that mistake that the mistake was hurting us, a particular grade and below, you are not paid bonuses, neither are you given share options, even if you have been identified as a potential leader. So those are the type of things we have now put in our reward system, so that these talents are actually part of the system. They see that they belong, they contribute, they do business, they contribute to the profitability, and they share in the bonuses that the executives share. And of course, they know that as they grow, they can increase their share option, in the bank. So, and we have been seeing that has been keeping them longer, to assume the role.
That is so lovely. Thank you so much, Mrs. Edun. I can't thank you enough. I've enjoyed this so much. Participants, our audience, how has it been? I want to hear on the chat, in the chat room, put it there. How has it been? I've been so honestly, I don't even want it to end. I don't want this to end. It's just amazing speakers. Thank you so much. We'll take one or two questions. I'm sure Mrs. Edun will be ready to take one or two questions. Anybody has a question, can you please raise your virtual hand and let's take one or two questions or comments or suggestions quickly, just two. We're very time conscious. Sorry?
It's on the Q&A.
Oh, it's on the Q&A. Okay, yeah. So I haven't seen, okay, Q&A. Okay, I've seen it. All right, so we'll take these three. It's one thing to try and instill corporate values into people you think are able to succeed you. It's another thing for them to be receptive or ready to take on your role. How do you handle such people? Okay. I think Mrs. Edun, Yemisi, could you please go ahead and answer that? So it's one thing to have your corporate values and you share it, it's compelling and all that. But this person says it's another thing for them to be receptive. Why are they not receptive though? That's what we should be asking ourselves.
Correct. Because so that means we then have to look at our system of recruitment. Absolutely. Because as I mentioned earlier on, when we're saying our values are very key to us. It's like being handed over. It was handed over by the founder, our late founder, and he really wanted us to keep those values. So it's actually part of our recruitment process, looking at you displaying those values to even start with. So definitely there ought to be alignment, or else it's part of your scorecard anyway. If you are not displaying it in the 360-degree feedback, it will have been thrown out. And if we say we want to mentor you and you're saying, oh, I don't share the value of innovation, for instance, I am not a creative person, I just want to be doing things as they have put it to me, I am bureaucratic, I am not ready, to be proactive.
Customers, I don't,
Yeah, so customers must come to me. I'm not supposed to go to customers. Then you are not a fit. Yeah. And we quickly identify that even from our CBA, from the 360-degree, and you won't even then be part of that. So we really need to align. I and the Bible says that can two people work together except they
agree.
You don't agree in our Bible.
I think that's absolutely says it all. So I totally agree with you. It's at the point of recruitment. Is there an alignment of values? What are your core values? And when you interview this person, are they exhibiting those values? And they're going to be on probation anyway for a while. So you're able to ascertain if this person actually aligns. And if there's no alignment, they really shouldn't be in your company, because you sell the vision to people. And when you have the right people, they should really be ready to imbibe the corporate values. So I hope that answers your Tosi Oladejo. So the next question is, can reduction in meetings keep the staff from leaving? Our staff complain about incessant meetings as one of the reasons for leaving. They think they don't have time for themselves. I don't know if that would apply to you in the banking sector.
I mean, it does. It does everywhere.
Okay, please go on. Please go on and answer.
And so what I say to meetings is that it's actually part of grooming. Absolutely. Because as you move up the ladder, that's what you'll be doing more. Because you want to actually be brainstorming for direction and for decisions. So that's what, in fact, there are some meetings we hold now in my bank that may not require the junior ones, but I will tell them to come listening and start seeing and understanding. They should be in attendance just to flow through. We all have other work that we want to go and do. And of course, that's yet another leadership trait that you will need to imbibe, because I mentioned that we check these 3 C's around capacity, competence, and character. The capacity bit of it is how resilient are you? How much can you take? How can you work so much under pressure? So you need all those. So there are meetings you learn, you are in attendance, you're learning, you are hearing people, it's on the job training, how they reason, how they take decisions, how they discussions, the richness of it, how they brainstorm. It will enhance your own ability to lead one day. It's not a waste of time.
I love that, because I hear that a lot. And what you're saying is that that's actually preparation for leadership. When you can't be at a leading where you're brainstorming, where there's strategic planning and discussions going on, and you just want to leave, because you want to go and do the operational stuff, you want to just be, that for me immediately is a sign that this person is not ready for leadership. Because when you're a leader, as you said, that is what really you'll be doing more of. And even when we take it away from the workplace, even in families, not families that hold meetings, you would see that it runs better. What happens? Your meetings just is an opportunity to evaluate, to sit back and assess. But when you just keep going, action, you lose. So for me, that's immediately a red flag. People that will say, okay, I'm leaving the job because they have too many meetings. For real? Of course, as leaders, we can say, okay, when do we schedule it? Which meetings don't we need to have? Can we have it more virtual? There are ways to go about it. If somebody says they're leaving because there are too many meetings, that person is not a leadership candidate. End of. The last question we'll be taking today, we still have a whole week, so not to worry, my dear participants. So someone says, I lead a school where the board is indifferent to the vision, mission, and values. Consequently, some key decisions made at the board level still are based on convenience and interest. How can I thrive in this situation as a head of? I won't even let Mrs. Edun answer that one. I'm going to say, if a board, we have heard from Mrs. Ndidi Nwuneli how important the board is. And if the board is indifferent, and the board, is like a corporate governance, they're outside. You have the management, the top management. Are you talking to the owner? Are you talking to the CEO? You can, like I said, that how can you, as the head of the organization, what powers were given you as the head of the organization? The board is to regulate, to help monitor how things are going, direction. Yeah, I think you need to speak up. If you have been put in place as the CEO, and you have, honestly, I don't know if I'll still be there. I don't really know if I'll still be there. So because of time, we would have to go now. Thank you all so much for listening. If you still have more questions, please feel free to send to us, and we will send to Mrs. Edun and Mrs. Nwuneli. And we're all looking forward, I hope, to Monday. Monday, we're going to have Mrs. Toyi Bakari, the one of the owners of SARS, the textile company, who actually took the position up from her mother, Her mother set it up, and she and her siblings today are running that business that's been on for years. And on Tuesday, we're going to have our darling Mrs. Ibukun Awoshika, who runs the Chair Center group, who went, you know, she's been on many boards, she's still on many boards, but still her company has been running very, very strong. Thereafter, I believe the next day we have Mrs. Nneka Onyeli Ikpe, another MD of a bank. I'm really looking forward to hearing what they're doing in Fidelity, even as we've heard about FCMB today. And who am I leaving out? Am I leaving anyone out? Yes, we're going to have Mrs. Funke Amba, another person who has taken over her mom's school. I love to see that, how they have done that to sustain businesses that have been established since. And also the last day, I will be looking at my organization, how I do have a family member, but I also have another leader who is not a family member, who is part of our succession plan. So it's just such a beautiful topic that I really love. And I hope you've all learned a lot today. Thank you so much, Mrs. Edun, one more time. I just appreciate everything you've done. Mrs. Ndidi Nwuneli, thank you. I know you're not here. And all my participants, thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, see you on Monday. By God's grace.
Bye all. Thanks.
6 p.m. on Monday. Invite your friends, bring everyone, and your other colleagues as well. Thank you. Bye. Bye, everyone.